It's about Jordan Poole. And this is what made me call in the Willard or Dibs a couple weeks ago. Because people were talking about the Warriors had to baby these guys and blah, blah, blah. No, they got punished. They didn't play. All right? That's part of the problem here. They didn't play. Jordan Poole showed a ton of maturity. He may have shown the most maturity out of anybody in that organization last season because he didn't talk about it. He could have easily did his ESPN sit-down. He could have easily sat down with Kendra Andrews. He's going to join us at 8:30, by the way. ESPN and Kendra Andrews saw her last night at Chase Center. She can't wait to come on the roast. He could show a lack of immaturity, just said, to hell with everything. I'm going to talk about what happened, what really happened, because Draymond's camping them, got out in front of the narrative, and tried to sway things like, whoa. No, that's not cool. Jordan Poole showed a tremendous amount of maturity. And then by the time Game 4 rolled around and he's in the locker room basically telling people, I ain't no Vinny Microwave Johnson. And if you young bucks don't know who Vinny Microwave Johnson is, he's a guy who came off the bench for the bad boy Pistons and was scoring bunches off the bench. He was the microwave because he heated up so fast. Jordan Poole's like, I'm not that guy. I'm not that guy. He feels like he's a starter. So Jordan Poole gets his wish to be a starter elsewhere. Maybe a change of scenery, which we talked about during the season, will do him some good.
Absolutely.
But I do want to give Jordan Poole his proper respect. He's a champion.
Yes.
I'm going to always wear this T-shirt, the Warriors championship team, with Poole and the floaty. We were all having pool parties. Hell, I'm going to miss playing this.
Money time! Money time! Money time! Money time!
Love that drop. We're going to miss playing it. But Jordan Poole, he showed a lot of maturity. But you know what? Business is business. And the Warriors were able to create financial flexibility. And today, they are a better team than they were yesterday. How much better? Time will tell. But it was obvious Draymond Green at the end of the day and Jordan Poole cannot coexist in the locker room. So the Warriors chose up. And if you got a problem with that, I'm here to hear about it, and I understand it.
So I want to make sure we're clear here. CP3 currently cannot be traded again until January.
Yes.
At minimum.
At minimum.
So we can talk about financial flexibility all you want, which is an element. It's a huge element.
Huge element to this.
Okay. What's the number one thing that you're trying to accomplish right now?
Well, you're trying to win.
A championship.
You're trying to win a championship.
Okay. So financial flexibility cannot be the number one reason why you're trading someone. Now, I'm not saying it is the number one reason, but it sure feels like it. Now, in terms of winning now, okay, yeah, he's slightly better than Jordan Poole right now. No one would deny.
Maybe they think Jordan Poole, or Chris Paul gives him a better chance to win a championship. They could be delusional, and you could disagree. Do I believe they're a championship contender with Chris Paul?
Their
not
IQ
really.
Skyrockets
It
with
does.
CP3. That I will give you, right? But to me, IQ was one element they needed to improve, but the bigger ones were they needed dudes.
Yeah.
They needed dudes. They got out-duded in the Lakers series. And so they don't have a dude who can play two-way on that front court, on that back court. That's what they needed. And so when you made this deal for Jordan Poole, who's one of the few guys that everyone's willing to part with, right? It's very important that if you make a deal like this, and it's about winning right now, you get something back that really does move the needle. And for me, this doesn't do enough.
Does this help chemistry?
I'm sure it helps chemistry to some degree.
Right.
Because it can't be any worse than what it was last year.
Last year was
I don't know
bottom.
if these guys love Chris Paul or not. How am I going to? But it clearly wasn't working last year.
From what I hear, Steph Curry gave a thumbs up on it.
Okay.
Steph Curry's cool with Chris Paul coming. You know? I think Draymond Green's going to be cool with Chris Paul coming. Klay Thompson will probably be cool with Chris Paul coming because he's going to get the ball, and Chris Paul will find him. And Chris Paul does create a lot of open threes for a lot of players in the half court. In the half court, he's still a damn good facilitator. Now, defensively, yeah, he's not the guy he once was. But he's a worse guy than Jordan Poole on that end.
Can we agree?
Not.
They only had so many moves they could make. If you're standing pat with Klay and Steph, we don't know. Draymond can kind of control himself to a degree. Like, you're not moving off Wiggins because he's a two-way player that you really like, and his number is coming down in terms of the finance, okay? You had Jordan Poole, right? And so most people wanted a difference maker, if you're going to trade Jordan Poole. So I get, okay, maybe that guy wasn't available.
But you're not going to get that. Are we? Honestly, let's stop.
This is what I wanted. A 3-and-D guy.
Yeah, but honestly, what 3-and-D guy? Who? You think you're going to get OG Anunoby for Jordan Poole?
Okay, would you take Marcus Smart over CP3 right now? Who was part the Warriors and the Celtics were linked? I don't even know if that was the offer. I'm just hypothetically someone who was moved. And I know the numbers don't match up, but you'd have to, mix things around.
Is Marcus Smart more efficient than Chris Paul.
CP3 does more, I think, on offense.
Yeah.
I think Marcus Smart does a lot more on defense. But the problem, Marcus Smart doesn't really answer your defensive riddle either.
And really, we saw Marcus Smart defense in the finals. Steph Curry torched him.
It's Steph Curry.
But when you get to the playoffs, you're playing the De'Aaron Foxes. You're playing the Jamal Murrays.
He would have helped against him. I think he's more useful than GP2 against a De'Aaron Fox, for example, who's another player you have on the roster. Like right now, you've got a lot of flawed guys. This is what ended up happening last year. Offense or defense. They needed a two-way guy.
They do. They still do. I agree. But maybe they couldn't get that for Jordan Poole. And maybe they tried their asses off. Got to remember, with that contract now kicking in with Jordan Poole, the 4-year, at least 123. Yeah. And if he hits incentives, he's going to make he could make up to $143 million. With that contract kicking in, maybe other teams said, oh, boy, that's a lot of money.
But isn't it you that always says that there's always a sucker in the NBA?
There is always a sucker in the NBA. But you got the new CBA. The new CBA has petrified some teams here. Let's be real.
Of course it has.
It's changed the way certain NBA teams have thought about things, about making moves here. There is always a sucker in the NBA. And maybe that sucker today is the Golden State Warriors.
Well, it feels
maybe
like
they're the suckers.
Look, I don't like this trade. I don't think it makes them better enough. It makes them better, but not better enough to where it's moving the needle for their championship chances.
But Poole's value was so low right now. And some teams may look at Poole and say, boy, he's a scorer, but we don't necessarily need a scorer. I need a guy who can facilitate for others. He has elements to that in his game, but is he that guy? Is he that guy? And then you say two-way players. Everybody covets two-way players. The entire league's coveting two-way players. Is Jordan Poole a two-way player right now?
No, but if you're going to package him in something, you want to make sure that you don't just sell to sell, right? So if you're going to package it because he's one of the guys that you would package because of the limitations of salary flexibility, he's one of the few guys you have. So it's very important that if you're going to sacrifice him, you get something that is a big upgrade for this year.
You don't think they tried, though?
Other things,
but you don't think they tried?
Of course, but that doesn't mean it's the right move.
Right. So they just said, you know what? We got to make a move now before this window closes. Maybe the window was closing for an avenue. Maybe the Wizards was like, look, we're going to move on and go take on somebody else's contract. Maybe. And that's the move that they had to make. Maybe that's the move that they had to make. I don't know. And again, I'm not a CP3 fan, for crying out loud, folks. I can't stand CP3. I'm like 95% of Warrior fans. I was distraught, just thinking, oh my God, Chris Paul's a Golden State Warrior, really? But I understand the finances, I understand the financial flexibility, and I understand that, look, if it doesn't work out, it may be a half a season of Chris Paul. Could be like D'Angelo Russell, where you flip him at the deadline. And the team will say, well, boy, Chris Paul has a team option, not a player option.
So, okay, on that, if let's say that plays itself out, right? Now you're in the middle of the season trying to acquiesce and get somebody up to speed who you bring in, who you hope is, like, to me, if you're going to go all in on Steph Curry and the winning of now, it needed to be more impactful for this year because that feels like you're kind of putting this year up in limbo. If we're all about the winning of now, Steph Curry, I just don't think this does enough for them. That's just me.
Chris Paul last year.
I hope I'm wrong. I hope I'm wrong. I hope this dude plays 70 games in the regular season. Healthy the whole way.
How many games Steph Curry played last year?
I don't know, 60? 57?
You know how many games Chris Paul played last year?
More than him.
He played 59 games last year.
Yeah, but then he only played the 7 games in the playoffs, and when they desperately needed him, push came to shove, he was done.
He got hurt.
Which is the story of his career.
But the reason why they made the Kevin Durant trade is because to take some of the load off of Chris Paul. And what happened to Kevin Durant 2 games into his tenure with Phoenix?
He got hurt. But that's what happens with older guys.
Exactly.
You're doing the same thing here.
Exactly.
You got Steph older,
but hold on.
Dre older.
No, you didn't even let me finish. He had to have more of a load in Phoenix, Chris Paul.
Okay.
Kevin Durant gets hurt, and all of a sudden he's like, damn, I thought I was going to be able to take a step back and be that third option. Now I got to make sure we get to the finish line because you got to remember, Phoenix was battling for the 4, 5, and 6 spot, just like the Golden State Warriors at home court in that first round. Or, hell, they was trying to get up to 3, which was impossible, but they were trying to get there. And Kevin Durant gets hurt with shoulders, which Chris Paul has to shoulder more of the load. The Warriors are not going to ask him to do that.
What are you talking about? They're going to miss. You're going to bake into the equation missed games for Draymond, Steph, and to some degree Clay. We don't know what's going to happen with Clay.
Chris Paul.
Clay was very healthy this year. What?
Maybe Chris Paul will get some of those load management.
Newsflash: older guys get hurt in the league.
They do.
It's a very long.
But they're not going to ask him to have that same load that he had in Phoenix. He was asked to be a 1, 2, or 3. He won't be asked to do that here.
Do you think it's a 55-win team?
I don't know. I got to see the rest of the roster. We're not done. Free agency hasn't started yet.
But they have very little wiggle room in free agency.
And honestly,
they have very little wiggle room.
They do have little.
Unless there's a sign and trade with Dre.
Yeah. Again, I got to see the roster. I don't know if they're a 55-win team, but again, 55 wins, does that mean a lot for this team when you got a championship core? Didn't mean much against Sacramento. They went into the 6th seed and beat them despite not having home court. We all bitched them on about the road record, but they won 2 games in Sacramento. Games 5 and 7. All right?
All right. We're now winning in the first round is like a litmus test.
No, nobody's saying that. Nobody's saying that.
That's not good enough. That's a failure. For this team, it's a failure.
Again, last year was a disappointment.
To say that.
Last year was a disappointment.
Yes.
I'm not saying it's a badge of honor. I'm not saying that. You're putting words in my mouth now. Let's go to the lines. Let's go to.
So you think this is the best they could do, and so then it's not bad.
I don't know what's going on in the war room. I don't know what players are available. Obviously, the Warriors felt like this is the best. I understand the deal.
No, but do you like it?
I understand the deal.
Yeah, I don't like it.
I understand the deal. That's fine. You don't have to like it. But I understand why they did the deal. Maybe I don't like the player, but I understand it. And you know what? They got better than they were. They're a better team today than they were yesterday.
And I still don't think it's good enough.
And that's sad. It may not be good enough, and you may hate the deal, and you hate Chris Paul, and you may be in your feelings about Jordan Poole, but guess what? You're still a better team today.
Jordan Poole's not the person to cry a sob story for. He's got a lot of warts. I think he's been overly criticized. He deserves to be criticized, but he's been overly criticized. And to me, he's not the end-all, be-all to the flaws of the Golden State Warriors for 2023. He's a big part of it, but there's a lot of other elements. Clearly, Bonte, and this is an element that we barely discussed today, and I think next week we can go ham on this. Clearly, they weren't feeling, and I'm talking about the coaching staff, Steve Kerr in particular, was not feeling any of the recipe ingredients that Bob Myers was serving them.
No, he was not.
All right? We can have a conversation, because to me, smells a lot like Trent Baalke and Jim Harbaugh.
Right.
Except they got championships.
Do I like the deal? Everybody's like, answer the question, Bonte. Do I like the deal? No, originally I didn't like the deal, but I understand the deal. Whether I like it or not does not matter. I don't like Chris Paul. I don't want to root for him, but I understand what the Warriors are trying to accomplish. I understand what they're trying to accomplish. And again, and we said this all season long, can Draymond Green and Jordan Poole coexist in the locker room? Obviously, they can. And also, Jordan Poole may have had a problem with Steve Kerr and the inconsistent minutes. Maybe Jordan Poole's like, you know what? I'm checked out of this.
Well, that's totally fair.
Out. And you know what? You do a sell by the player, whatever it is.
Did they maximize their return?
I don't know. I don't know what Jordan Poole's value was. Did the Warriors overpay Jordan Poole?
Well, that's
the question. That's another question.
Clearly.
Did they overpay him?
Here's
and so now you got out of that contract.
Well, wait a minute.
Think about that. If it's an overpay, you moved off that money. Just like D'Angelo Russell. They paid D'Angelo Russell. We realized too much into that tenure. Yeah. We realized too much. Yeah. No, the Warriors paid him in that sign and trade with Kevin Durant.
I know, but I'm saying like they had to get something back for KD.
Exactly, but they flipped him immediately. But
did they do anything for that year? We're older. It's about winning now. Did
D'Angelo Russell that trade do something for that year?
Yeah, for that year.
For that year, they won 15 games. But for that year, it was about the next year when Klay was supposed to come back.
Okay.
And then you bring in Andrew Wiggins. And by the way, the next year you bring in Jonathan Kuminga.
You didn't make the playoffs that year.
Yeah, you didn't make the playoffs that year.
So now you're 3 years older than that point in time.
But you won a championship. Did you not win a championship with Andrew Wiggins being the second best player?
So what are you talking about? Feels more desperate. Are we closer to the cliff, or are we farther away from the cliff?
I don't think we're near the cliff at all. Steph Curry's still a top 5 player in the league. He's still a top 5 player in the league.
So you think they've just got this long runway?
No, obviously there's a 3-year window.
3?
There's a 3-year window.
I'm going
probably
1 year at a time now.
Yeah, well, that's you. Steph Curry's still playing at an MVP level.
Oh,
MVP
no doubt.
level,
and it's unprecedented.
So as long as that's happening, I'm rocking with it. They're still got a chance in the West, especially in the West.
Who's not rocking? Hold on.
Think about the Western Conference right now. I want to get to the calls, but think about the Western Conference right now. Denver's a title team. We all agree they're the number 1 team,
and they're all in their prime.
All right. Do we really believe Phoenix is going to work out with Bradley Beal, Kevin Durant, and Devin Booker? 3 guys who need the ball in their hands.
No, and they're all injured.
No depth.
But the same arguments. Wait up. The same arguments that people will make to crush Phoenix, I think a lot of them, not all of them, but a lot of them apply to the Warriors.
They do.
Age, health.
But here's the difference.
Thin.
Here's the difference. One's a 4-time champ. One doesn't have banners.
One's a two-time champ. Come on.
Well, Kevin Durant.
And Booker's younger than all of the guys on the Warriors and in his prime and is a great player.
And he's been blown out by 30 in two straight elimination games. He's still a great
player, B.
He's been blown out by 30.
I watched him in person.
Yeah, he is awesome, but he's still been blown out in two straight elimination games by 30. He's been down 30 at the half.
And one of them was with your guy that you just acquired.
But he was a number 2 option. Chris Paul would not be, again, Chris Paul's not the number 2 option here. We're not asking Chris Paul to be the number 2 option. We're asking him to run the second unit and play against backup point guards.
Who is the number 2 option?
For the Warriors, could be Wiggins, could be Clay.
Yeah, I don't know if that's good enough.
Well, one guy.
I'm looking at Jamal Murray and Jokic. I'm looking at LeBron and AD. I'm looking at Booker and KD, Steph, and maybe Wiggins or Clay. I think
we all agree.
Fair questions.
But we all agree, though. Nobody's afraid of Phoenix.
I don't know about afraid. I got to see it. It's a wait and see. Same thing with the Warriors. I wait and see. All right. I think a lot of the same questions you have on Phoenix apply to the Warriors.
They do. They very much do. But that's the whole point here. The entire Western Conference outside of Denver is up in the. It's a who's who. It's a who's who. And I got the biggest who's who of them all in Stephen Curry. I got the biggest show card of them all.
Yeah, but you need more than that.
Yeah. Of course you do.
You know? You need more than that.
Of course you do, Shasky. Of course you do.
That's why we're having this argument right now. Because you're trying to acquire more than that.
Was Jordan Poole a better player than Chris Paul last season?
No, Chris Paul was better, but he went down at the end. And you're asking different things.
I just asked you. I didn't ask about the injuries.
Here's the thing.
I didn't ask you about. I said, is Chris Paul, was he a better player than Jordan Poole last year? Chris Paul's a better player last year than Jordan Poole.
In terms of efficiency,
and I hate Chris Paul. And I hate Chris Paul. I cannot stand him. Now, let me not say that anymore before I get fired, but, he was a better player than Jordan Poole. And it's taken every fiber in my body to admit that. But you got to get out your feelings for a second. Just, Dub Nation, get out your feelings.
Get out of your feelings when you defended Klay Thompson when he was horrific all year? Is that the same guy?
Klay Thompson was not really. Klay Thompson was horrific all year. The guy who made threes.
They had a team meeting.
And then what he do? And then what he do?
Get out of my feelings.
He had two of the best 3 months of his entire career.
Cooked by Austin Reeves in the playoffs.
Oh, stop it.
Austin Reeves, who you laughed at.
Oh, man.
Got cooked by Lonnie Walker.
Yeah, okay.
Who? Lonnie Walker.
Klay Thompson didn't get cooked by Lonnie Walker. Stephen Curry was
when Warrior fans are attached emotionally to Dre, Steph, and Clay. Come on.
Your feelings about a 23-year-old who turned the ball over the fourth most times in the NBA. And we gonna forget about Klay. They had the team meeting of what Klay Thompson do from there. He went nuclear. He's the reason why you went to the damn playoffs.
And he's the reason we lost.
Oh, no. He's the reason why you lost.
Both
okay. Not the guy who you gave a 4-year, $123 million contract who couldn't even play in the fourth quarter.
He's the 9th highest paid player in the league this year.
Oh, my gosh.
And he didn't play even close to that.
Oh, my gosh. PJ Hayward, what's happening?
Hey, what's up, guys? First time caller.
Go ahead.
How are you?
PJ.
All right. So, my point is, what I wanted to say, that's why I called, if Chris Paul was in this year instead of Jordan Poole, we probably would have put 1 more games in the playoffs. Because that's what you guys always complain about with Jordan Poole is consistency. And with Chris Paul, that's what you're going to get, is consistency. Now, we don't know if he's going to be injured during the playoffs next year, but at least we got a chance, right? I'll get your thoughts on the air.
I don't know how the heck I'm going to rely on Chris Paul in the playoffs when his entire resume is littered with shortcomings in the playoffs. He's one of the bigger playoff disappointments, sadly, which it's not all on him, but like to say he's going to all of a sudden flip the switch, it's tough.
I don't know why it's so hard to understand that they don't need to rely on Chris Paul in the playoffs. You need him to play 20 to 25 minutes. He's not closing lineups.